Thus, the poet explains that even ideas casually mentioned in the house have a habit of circulating like rumors and then coming back to the house, to the great house, to the so called great house. The poet works out a comparison between these ideas and the prodigies who are born to the prodigal fathers of the family. The poet also gives a concrete example of how an idea can circulate all over the world and then return to its creator. This is what Uncle said the other day. Uncle said the other day that every Plotinus we read is what some Alexander looted between the malarial rivers. Malaria, I told you, is a kind of fever characterized by chills. Plotinus is an important philosopher of the 3rd century. He lived in Roman Egypt. Alexander, I'm not very sure whether the poet has Alexander the Great in mind or some other Alexander. But let us assume for a moment that the poet has in mind Alexander the Great, who is looked upon as one of the greatest conquerors of the world, who lived some 300 years before Christ. So Alexander and Plotinus did not coexist in the same world, did not coexist in the same scenario. What has the poet in mind when he makes the uncle of the family say in his poem, every Plotinus we read is what some Alexander looted between malarial rivers? How are we going to explain it? I think the best possible explanation is that there is a close link between power and philosophy. Alexander looted the region between two malarial rivers. The poet refuses to specify the rivers. Rivers which are causes for the spreading of malaria. Perhaps the poet means that only after victory in the physical world, in the political world, can there be victory in the intellectual world, in the spiritual world. What does the poet say? That every Plotinus we read is what some Alexander looted between the malarial rivers. If there had been no Alexander, there would have been no Plotinus. It is the military conquest of Alexander, the political establishment of Alexander's empire. That is the foundation for the work of philosophers like Plotinus. This is what Uncle said. This is what Uncle said the other day. And this idea promptly came back after circulating all over the world. The poet now gives one more example, and it's a very interesting example. A beggar once came with a violin to croak out a prostitute's song. To croak out means to say, to speak, or even better, to sing something in a low voice, a gruff voice, a rough voice, and perhaps also an emotional voice. Violin is, of course, a stringed musical instrument. It's now part of the South Indian classical music scene. It is a Western instrument, but it has been integrated into the Carnatic music scene. A beggar once came with a violin to croak out a prostitute's song. A song, a prostitute song. I know what a song is, but what is a prostitute song? Prostitute is a woman who sells her body. That was the traditional definition, but now we have male prostitutes as well. Prostitute song means corrupt song, vulgar song, probably. Or it also means a song which is sung by all and sundry, just as the body of the prostitute is used by all customers. This song was not something new. There was nothing original about a song because that our voiceless cook sang all the time in our backyard. Our cook used to sing this song throughout in the backyard. But there was a problem. He was a voiceless cook. And the beggar with the violin comes to the house and sings the same song. The poet's point is strengthened. Everything that goes out comes back. Just as the song sung by the cook throughout in the backyard comes back as the song sung by the beggar with the violin. How do we explain voiceless cook? Well, I think that it's used in a rather metaphorical manner. You must not interpret these lines too literally. The point is that the song sung by the beggar with the violin was so atrocious, so unbearable, that it can easily be compared to the song sung by the voiceless cook. The voiceless cook is unable to speak, leave alone sing. And the song sung by the beggar invites comparison with the song sung all the time in the backyard by the voiceless cook. Everything that goes out comes back. The poet now puts it in another way. Nothing stays out. For example, daughters get married to short-lived idiots. They become widows in no time and return to the great house, the so-called great house. Sons sometimes run away, but they return in grandchildren. And what do these grandchildren do? They recite Sanskrit to approving old men or bring betel nuts for visiting uncles. And these visiting uncles keep them gaping. Gaping means their mouths are open. Their mouths are wide open with anecdotes of unseen fathers. You must remember that the father has run away, the son has run away, and now the grandson. The grandson is there, and the grandson is listening to a story about his father whom he has never seen. And it is such a gripping story that the grandson is compelled to keep his mouth open with wonder. Sanskrit is the most ancient language of India, though this may be disputed by admirers of Tamil. Sanskrit is looked upon as the language of the gods. It is a language in which the holy books of Sanatana Dharma are written, including the Rig Veda, including the four Vedas. And knowledge of Sanskrit, especially Sanskrit slokas, was very much prized in Tamil Brahmin households. Betel nuts. Betel is a vine, and it is the betel leaf which is consumed. I think what Ramanujan has in mind here is areca nuts. Along with betel leaves, areca nuts are consumed. And these areca nuts are sometimes referred to as betel nuts. The Ganges is the holiest of the holy rivers of India. And the water of the Ganges was looked upon as holy, is looked upon as holy. And it is preserved in copper pots. And when someone was dying, the copper pots are broken. The copper pots are opened. And the water of the Ganges is poured into the mouth of the dying person. who keep them gaping with anecdotes. Anecdotes are stories, short, interesting stories about incidents, about persons, of unseen fathers, or to bring Ganges water in a copper pot for the last of the dying ancestors rattle in the throat. Unseen fathers, the fathers have run away, the sons have run away, and we are now talking of the grandsons. So the sons are the fathers as far as the grandsons are concerned, and they have not been seen by the grandsons. The boys have not seen their fathers. And thrilling anecdotes are related to the boys about their unseen fathers. And these anecdotes make the boys keep their mouth wide open with wonder.